So I wasn't going to make this kind of video anymore. And then a lot of you reached out asking if I was still going to finish the Yu-Gi-Oh! Tabletop RPG card game that I had started working on. And while I had definitely needed to take a break from that project for a while, I recently got back to work and am making steady progress on it. I won't go so far as to give a release date or even beta dates again, that really didn't work out well last time, but I am able to share that I've locked down the game's core mechanics and am on to writing the first playable modules. In the process of doing that, I need to make a variety of deck profiles for the deck master to use against the players, and since so many of you seem to enjoy the deck profile videos that I used to make, I thought I'd bring them back in this new format. So today, let's take a look at a Yugi Muto inspired deck profile, asking ourselves what cards the King of Games might use in the modern Duel Monsters era as we prepare for Duel of Destiny, the official, unofficial Yu-Gi-Oh! Tabletop role-playing trading card game. This is a magician-centered spellcaster deck that seeks to take advantage of all the various summoning mechanics introduced into the game throughout the years. But no Yugi deck would be complete without the reliable old Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl, who act as the heavy hitters of the main deck and are supported by a variety of other units to enhance their presence on the field. For example, Magician's Robe, Magician's Rod, and Magician's Soul are all used to either get Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl onto the field, or to get spell or traps that combo with them from the deck or the graveyard onto the field. Then there's the Magician of Dark Illusion and the Apprentice Illusion Magician, who can be viewed as illusion counterparts to the Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl respectively. More powerful in some ways, but less in others. Magician of Dark Illusion can be special summoned from the hand during the opponent's turn, and can be used to special summon the Dark Magician. Conversely, Apprentice Illusion Magician can special summon herself, add Dark Magician from the hand to the deck, and be sacrificed from the hand or field in order to power up another Dark Spellcaster monster. So not a heavy hitter in her own right, but a useful support card nonetheless. Skilled Dark Magician is useful as both a level 4 spellcaster that can be used in Synchro and Xyz summoning, or it can use its special ability in order to special summon the Dark Magician once it's built up enough spell counters. In Duel Monsters, Yugi won a rather iconic duel by using Breaker, the Magical Warrior, a memory so precious that we'll say he upgraded it to Breaker the Dark Magical Warrior, which generates a certain number of attack-boosting spell counters depending on how it's summoned, and can use those counters to destroy enemy spells and traps. Next up, we have 3 tuner monsters in order to facilitate Yugi's ability to synchro summon, with those being Frequency Magician, Fortune Lady Past, and Tuned Magician. Frequency Magician gets a spell counter when it's summoned, and can then remove that counter in order to boost a controlled monster by 500 attack points until the end of the turn. Fortune Lady Past has the special effect that allows her level to increase by 1 during each of its owner's standby phases, allowing her to be useful in summoning a variety of different level synchro monsters. And Tuned Magician is a Gemini monster, who has to re-summon itself once it's on the field in order to become a tuner monster. Then we have the Pendulum Magicians, which are loosely associated with the Dimensional Dragons archetype from Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, but they're also very dark spellcaster-centric cards, making them more suited for a Yugi deck profile than a Yu-Gi-Oh! One as far as I'm concerned. Anyways, we've got Double Iris Magician, Purple Poison Magician, White Wing Magician, and Black Fang Magician. Double Iris Magician is a Scale 8 monster who can be used to add a Pendulum Graph card from the deck to the hand when it's destroyed, and whose Pendulum effect can target a Dark Spellcaster and double its attack damage for the rest of the turn. But Double Iris is destroyed as a result. Purple Poison Magician is a Scale 1 monster who can be used to target and destroy any card on the field when it leaves the field, and its Pendulum effect can be used to give a Dark Spellcaster on its side of the field an extra 1200 attack points during battle. White Wing Magician is a Scale 1 tuner monster who is banished when it's used for a Synchro summon, but her Pendulum effect negates any card effect targeting a Dark Spellcaster on her side of the field once per turn. And Black Fang Magician is a Scale 8 monster who can be used to special summon a Dark Spellcaster from the grave when it's destroyed, and who can have the attack points of an enemy monster once per turn as part of its Pendulum effect. It's worth noting that all 4 of these magicians are level 4 monsters, making them excellent candidates for Xyz summoning once we get to the extra deck. We've also got the 3 Dragon Magicians, with those being Dragon Pit Magician, Dragon Pulse Magician, and Dragon Collar Magician. Dragon Pit and Dragon Pulse Magicians have similar pendulum effects, with Pit being able to destroy a monster if its owner discards a pendulum monster, while Pulse can destroy a spell or trap if the owner ditches a pendulum card. And Dragon Collar Magician is basically a big middle finger to Kaiba if Yugi ever pulls this card against him. as its effect doubles the attack of any fusion, synchro, or Xyz monster it's used as a summoning material for if that monster battles a dragon-type monster. Plus, its pendulum effect lets it turn enemy monsters into dragons, so Yugi could turn a monster into a dragon, use Dragon Collar to special summon something from the extra deck, and then immediately double that monster's attack strength when it goes after the card it just turned into a dragon. Suck it, Blue Eyes!
And rounding out the main deck monsters, we have the obligatory Karibo card in Yugi's deck, this time with him running Magic Karibo. And look how cute he is! This little guy can be discarded to summon Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from the deck or the grave when Yugi takes damage. If Magic Karibo is in the grave and one of Yugi's spellcasters is destroyed, Magic Karibo can be added back to the hand, which means it can keep being used to resummon destroyed Dark Magicians over and over again. Moving on to spell cards.
Monster Reborn will be the first spell card in this deck lineup. Pretty straightforward, the user gets to special summon one monster from either grave. Everyone knows this card. Moving on. Arcane Barrier is a spell card that accrues spell counters as spellcaster monsters are destroyed. The owner can tribute it and up to 4 spell counters in order to draw cards equal to the number of counters that were used, basically a useful way of adding cards to the hand. Polymerization and Magicalized Fusion are the spell cards that are used to facilitate fusion summoning, with Polymerization fusing cards from the field or the hand, while Magicalized Fusion has the ability to use materials from the field or the graveyard to conduct its summon. Then we have some Dark Magician and Spellcaster support cards. Magician's Salvation is a field spell that allows the owner to set an Eternal Soul from the deck when it's played. While it's on the field, the owner can special summon Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from the graveyard when the opposite card is summoned to the field. And if you've already got them together, Dark Magic Twin Burst adds the attack points of all Dark Magician Girls on the field or in the graveyard to a Dark Magician on the field. Magicians Unite can be used if the owner has 2 or more spellcasters in attack position, raising one of their attack points to 3,000 until the end of the turn, but preventing you from using other monsters to attack during the same turn. Dark Magic Circle is a continuous spell that allows the owner to look at the top 3 cards of their deck and add a card listing Dark Magician to the hand if it was in there. If Dark Magician is summoned while this card is on the field, its owner can banish an enemy card. Then we have 2 more continuous spells, Magician's Right Hand and Magician's Left Hand. Right Hand allows the user to negate the first spell that an opponent plays each turn if they control a spellcaster monster, while Left Hand does the same thing for traps. Dark Magic Expanded is a quick play spell card that gains additional effects for each Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl on the field. If there's only one, a Dark Spellcaster monster on the field gets 1,000 attack points added to its score. If there are 2, the opponent can't use spell and trap cards to counter spell and trap cards. And if there are 3, the owner's Dark Spellcaster monsters are unaffected by enemy card effects. And since this deck does run cards that are treated as Dark Magician while they're on the field, it is possible to max this card out at all 3 effects. Soul Servant is another quick play spell that can be used to place a Dark Magician related card on the top of the deck. This card can also be banished in order to draw cards equal to the number of Dark Magician monsters on the field or in the graveyard. And that does it for our Magician support spells, but what about Yugi's Pendulum monsters? We'll be supporting them with cards like Star Pendulum Graph, Amazing Pendulum, and Pendulum Call. Star Pendulum Graph is a continuous spell that protects spellcaster monsters on its side of the field from spell cards and effects. If a Magician Pendulum monster leaves its side of the field, its owner can add another one from the deck to the hand. Amazing Pendulum can be used to recover 2 Pendulum Magicians from the extra deck to the main deck if its owner doesn't have any cards in their Pendulum zones. And Pendulum Call can be used to add 2 Magician Pendulum monsters from the deck to the hand, and gives Magicians in the Pendulum Zone protection from card effects until the end of the opponent's next turn. Moving on to trap cards, we have Eternal Soul and Magician's Navigation. Eternal Soul is a continuous trap that protects Dark Magician from enemy card effects and can be used to special summon Dark Magician from the hand or the grave. When this card is destroyed, so are all non-Dark Magician monsters on its owner's field. Magician Navigation can be used to special summon Dark Magician from the hand and another level 7 spellcaster from the deck. It then protects the user from spell and trap cards if this card is banished from the graveyard. And rounding out the main deck, we have some classic traps like Mirror Force, Solemn Strike, and Skill Drain. Mirror Force, we're all familiar with it. It destroys enemy attack position monsters when the enemy declares an attack. Solemn Strike is good for negating enemy summoning or effect activation. And Skill Drain is a continuous trap that negates enemy monster effects. So some good all-purpose traps to end things here. The side deck is where we're going to be keeping some of the cards from other archetypes that Yugi used in the original anime. For example, Yugi used to make heavy use of the Summoned Skull card throughout the Duelist Kingdom part of the story. We're going to keep the skull, but we're also going to be running all the special summon variants of this monster, like Archfiend's Awakening, Archfiend's Manifestation, Archfiend's Call, and Archfiend's Ascent. Awakening is a ritual monster that can only be destroyed in battle or by card effects from other ritual monsters. Manifestation can be summoned by merging Summoned Skull with another Dark Attribute monster, and boost the attack of all Summoned Skull monsters on the field by 500 points. Archfiend's Call protects Summoned Skull monsters from card effects, and Archfiend's Ascent can detach an Xyz material in order to protect a Summoned Skull from being sent to the grave. All 4 of these monsters share the effect that their name becomes Summoned Skull while they're on the field, and each of them can be used to special summon Summoned Skull from the hand, deck, or graveyard when they leave the field. And of course, if we're going to be running Archfiend's Awakening, we're going to need a copy of its ritual spell, Contract with the Abyss, in order to go with it. Next, we have retrains of 3 of Yugi's classic monsters, with those being Gaia the Fierce Knight, Curse of Dragon, and Buster Blader, which have respectively been upgraded to Charging Gaia the Fierce Knight, Curse of Dragon Fire, and Buster Blader, the Destruction Sword Master. Charging Gaia can be normal summoned without tributing, but its attack points drop to 1900 if it is. If this monster is tributed to summon another monster, its owner can activate its effect, allowing them to add a Blackluster Soldier card from the deck to the hand. Curse of Dragonfire is useful for both destroying field spells and conducting fusion summoning, which it can do without a polymerization card. Destruction Swordmaster can equip itself with an enemy monster that is destroyed while it's on the field. Once per turn, it can unequip that monster in order to destroy all monsters on the opponent's side of the field that are of the same type, which is really handy if the enemy is using a deck that has a lot of monster type redundancy. You know, like this deck. Now, near the end of Duel Monsters, Yugi began favoring Gandora, Dragon of Destruction, as an alternative to the Dark Magician. For this deck profile, we'll say that he upgraded to Gandora X, Dragon of Demolition, which can destroy all enemy monsters when it's summoned. The enemy then takes burn damage based on the attack points of the strongest monster that was just destroyed, and then Gandora increases its own attack points by that same damage number, meaning it's possible to destroy your enemy's strongest monster with this card, and then replace it on your side of the field with Gandora. Unfortunately, this card does require half of its owner's life points every turn as a cost. Next up, we have Yugi's Ritual Monsters. While he used to run cards like Magician of Black Chaos and Blackluster Soldier, we'll say that he upgraded these cards to units like Magician of Black Chaos Max, the legendary Swordmaster Blackluster Soldier, and Illusion of Chaos, all of which can be summoned using the Chaos Form ritual spell. Chaos Max can tribute another monster on its field to prevent the opponent from activating monster effects, and when it destroys a monster by battle, its second effect can add a spell card from the owner's grave back into the hand. Legendary Swordmaster Blackluster Soldier has a hand effect, which adds its ritual spell to the hand in lieu of the owner's draw phase. When it's on the field, the enemy can't activate card effects during the battle phase. If it was summoned using a normal monster as part of its tribute, it gains an extra effect where all enemy cards on the field are shuffled back into the deck when Legendary Swordmaster wins a battle. And Illusion of Chaos is good for adding Dark Magician from the deck to the hand and can be sacrificed to special summon it from the graveyard. Now, during his adventures, Yugi was chosen to be the bearer of the Eye of Timaeus, a legendary dragon capable of fusing with some of his magician cards. But, by the end of that story, Timaeus and the other dragons return to the spirit world from whence they came. But we're going to give Yugi the upgraded Timaeus the United Dragon card, assuming that he and Timaeus reunited somewhere down the road. And last, but certainly not least, we have the most iconic special card in Yugi's deck. A card so famous that fans used to shell out close to $100 for tournament illegal copies just to have them. I am of course referring to Slifer, the executive producer, who is well known and who takes up the last slot in the side deck. That just leaves us with the extra deck, where I wanted to incorporate all of the advanced summoning styles that have been introduced since Yugi was the hero of the story. Working backwards from newest to oldest, we have 2 Link monsters, Beyond the Pendulum and Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos. Beyond is a Link 2 monster who requires a Pendulum monster as one of her tributes, and who can be used to add a Pendulum monster from the deck to the hand. It can also be used to destroy 2 cards on the field if it is present on the field when 2 monsters of different levels are Pendulum summoned. Soldier of Chaos, on the other hand, is a Link 3 monster who cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects if a level 7 or higher monster was used to summon it. When it destroys an enemy monster, it can gain 1500 attack points, make a second attack, or banish one card on the field. Moving on to Xyz monsters, we have 3 magicians from the Dark Magician family: Ebon Illusion Magician, Ebon High Magician,
and Magi Star Magician Gal.
Illusion Magician is a rank 7 monster, but can also use level 7 monsters as materials. When it's on the field, you can detach an overlay unit to special summon a normal monster from the hand or deck, and when that monster attacks, the owner can banish one card on the opponent's field. High Magician, on the other hand, can be used to special summon a dark spellcaster when it's destroyed, and, as a bonus, destroys another card on the field at the same time.
Magi Star Magician Gal is a rank 6 monster, which can detach a unit in order to take control of an enemy monster for one turn, or special summon an enemy monster from the grave. Not too shabby. However, she isn't technically legal in the TCG format. As the story goes, this card was originally drawn by series creator Kazuki Takahashi, who'd grown tired of Konami constantly asking him to censor his card art for American releases, and finally decided to put a stop to it. So Konami has never been able to make an English version of this card, as the Takahashi estate refuses to censor the card for American releases. So if you want to run this deck profile but are doing so in a format that doesn't allow for you to use Magi Star Magician Gal, I'd recommend subbing in a monster like Time Star Magician instead.
For synchros, we have Enlightenment Paladin, Explosive Magician, and Arcanite Magician. Explosive Magician has strong attack stats, and can also be used to destroy spells and traps in exchange for spell counters on the field. Enlightenment Paladin is a strong hitter, and can be used to add a spell from the grave back into the hand if it was summoned using Magician Pendulum monster. It also shares Elemental Hero Flame Wingman's effect of dealing damage to the enemy based on the attack strength of any monsters it destroys. And when Arcanite Magician is summoned, it gains 2 spell counters, boosting its attack points by 1000 points each. But it can also remove a counter in order to destroy an enemy monster. And the rest of the extra deck is full of fusion cards. The first we'll discuss is Supreme Arcanite Magician, who is summoned by combining the original Arcanite Magician with another spellcaster. It shares the same effect as its base unit, but can also trade spell counters to draw cards from the deck, and it has a higher starting attack points, making for a stronger battle monster. We've also got some fusions that incorporate monsters from the side deck, which include cards like Buster Blader, the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman, Gaia, the Magical Knight of Dragons, Dark Cavalry, and Master of Chaos. Dragon Destroyer Swordsman is a fusion of Buster Blader, the Destruction Swordmaster, and any dragon-type monster. It can't attack directly, but it gains 1000 points for each dragon on the enemy's field or grave. All enemy dragons on the field are changed to defense position and cannot activate their effects. And, last but not least, it inflicts piercing damage when it attacks any defense position dragon. So all around, another big screw you to Seto Kaiba. Gaia, the Magical Knight of Dragons, gains 2600 attack points every time it destroys a monster in battle, but can also decrease its attack points by the same amount to destroy any card on the field. Not too bad if you can attack in order to raise its attack points, and then use its effect in order to pay the cost of destroying another card. Dark Cavalry can be summoned by fusing Dark Magician and a Warrior-type monster, though it's clearly meant to be a Gaia the Fierce Knight fusion based on the artwork. It gains 100 points for every spell or trap on the field or in the grave, and can inflict piercing damage when it attacks a defense position monster. It can also be used to negate and destroy effect cards in exchange for discarding one card from the hand. And Master of Chaos is summoned by fusing Dark Magician and a Chaos or Blackluster Soldier ritual monster. It can special summon a light or dark monster from the grave, and then contribute a monster of those same attributes to banish all enemy monsters. If it's destroyed, the owner can add a spell in the grave back to their hand. Next up, we have the Dark Magicians, a card summoned by merging Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl with another spellcaster. And last, but certainly not least, we have the ultimate spellcaster, the Quintet Magician, which can destroy all enemy cards if it's summoned using 5 differently named spellcasters as its fusion materials, and has attack stats to match the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Man, I'd love to see Yugi play this card one day. But that does it for this Yugi Muto modern day deck profile. What do you think of these cards for Yugi? Are these the cards you think the king of games would play today, or am I way off base? Check back soon to see what other deck profiles I create for Duel of Destiny, and hopefully I'll have an update on that project in the not too distant future. In In the meantime, hit the subscribe bell thing so you never miss a new video, and leave a comment telling me I'm a whore for coming back to Yu-Gi-Oh videos after I'd said I'd stopped. Everybody stay safe and stay healthy, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye!